That's just crazy. AccuNet's rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval tells the seller we've checked out all three aspects of your financial health, and that we'll pay $2,000 if our pre-approval is faulty. Banks don't do that, but they do have a lot of overhead with all their vice presidents and fancy branches. We keep overhead low, which means lower rates and closing costs that are typically $1,000 to $3,000 lower than banks. Most importantly, our loan consultants can show you and your agent how to improve your financing and appraisal contingencies so your offer has the best chance of winning in a multiple offer situation. Hey, don't settle for a flimsy, unimaginative bank pre-approval. Click on the blue button today for your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval. That's ACCUNET.com.
Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
10:22 on WTMJ. We're in studio with the CEO of the Wisconsin Center District, Marty Brooks. Marty, the topping off ceremony is happening this afternoon. Why is that significant for this huge commercial real estate project right here in downtown Milwaukee?
Well, what I'm learning, when you work on a big project or any project, construction project for that matter, you have a couple of key milestone dates. One is when you get your financing. Second, another date is when you break ground. And then the next major construction milestone is when the final piece of structural steel gets put into place. And that's what we have happening over at the expansion today at between 2 and 2:30.
So another excuse to have a party. I love that. I love that. So this is we mentioned the huge, the scope of this project, $456 million project. Yeah. Is that correct? What are some of the outstanding features of this project? I've seen you do some interviews on WTMJ television with Charles Benson. Talk about some of the highlights.
Well, I think one of the things that I learned during the process of moving the project forward from feasibility study to getting the approval to do it was how little people in Milwaukee and around Milwaukee really know about the convention center. Mm-hmm. And it was surprising at first, but then really seemed to make sense because the convention center, as I mentioned before, is built as an economic catalyst to bring people mostly from outside of Milwaukee. So the people who are most often frequenting this building are not residents. Right. We bring a lot of conventions and meetings, and thus people from out of town. So as part of the design, we wanted to make sure that, first off, that the building fit nicely into the streetscape, that it was not creating this massive concrete, brick, whatever the materials may be, monolith in downtown that would seem more of a barrier to get around West Town and East Town than anything else. So on the north side and east side, there's an incredible amount of glass. We wanted it to become an iconic structure for the city. And we also wanted to make sure that there were elements within the building so that when people, whether they're local or from out of town, come inside, they get to experience what being in Milwaukee and Wisconsin is all about. So when you walk in the north entrance, there's this spectacular, in my opinion, two-story water feature that will be, as you enter the facility, there'll be 5 panels representing each of the Great Lakes, and the 5 panels have been designed to be proportionate to the actual 5 Great Lakes in surface area. So that's our active water feature. And there's a really large public area with wonderful collaborative stairs so that people can come in. There's power throughout the building everywhere, but in the collaborative staircase as well. So people can just sit and either connect with each other by phone, check their emails, do work on the stairs. And then the space itself is a 3-story atrium going up to the second level that has meeting rooms, as does the first. The third level is an expansion of the existing exhibition space. And then we have, I think the cherry on top of the spectacular sundae is a rooftop, a ballroom with a massive wraparound terrace that goes faces east and north.
That's awesome. And it's going to be open for the RNC, right? Will be open for July of 2024. You're booking in May, actually, right?
People say, you can be ready for the RNC. We have contracts for events starting the last week of May. So the RNC, we're happy to have, but it's one of many events, not the only event.
Well, Marty Brooks, CEO of the Wisconsin Center District, celebrating a big day today, the topping off ceremony for the new Wisconsin Center expansion. When we come back, I want to ask you about the latest announcement, the naming rights announcement. I'm Tracy Johnson, in for Steve Scaffidi on WTMJ.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Wake Up with me. Hey, it's WTMJ's Greg Matzik. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 8:30 for Matzik's Morning Minute. Everything you need to know about all your favorite Wisconsin teams in just 60 seconds.
Willie to left and deep. Hey, get up, get way out of here and gone for Willie Adamas.
Mondays and Fridays at 8:30 on Wisconsin's Morning News.
Breaking news out of Green Bay where the Packers and Jordan Love have agreed on a one-year contract extension.
Sponsored by Holiday Automotive in Fond du Lac.
Hello, it's Tony Drake, founder of Drake & Associates. Do you think your taxes will be lower in retirement? A lot of people think that. Then the tax bills come in and people realize they're paying as much, if not more, in taxes than when they were working. How taxes can affect your retirement is one of the chapters in my new book, Get Retirement Ready. Learn what your taxes might look like in retirement and what you can do to potentially lower them. You'll also read about many other topics that could impact your retirement. Get your free copy of Get Retirement Ready and a bonus Retirement Ready toolkit by calling or texting TAX to 414-404-4994. Could you lower your tax bill? Get my new book and Retirement Ready toolkit to find out by texting TAX to 414-404-4994.
Investment advisory services provided by Drake & Associates, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products are offered through a separate company, Law Financial Group, LLC. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply any level of skill or training.
Years ago, Mom believed in us so much, she wrote a business plan to get the company started, and today, Johnson & Sons Paving is thriving.
And loaded with family.
I'm Jason Johnson.
And I'm Jeff Johnson.
Johnson & Sons Paving is your premier asphalt, concrete, seal coating, and striping company.
From pothole patching to asphalt repairs
to parking lot total reconstructions, we have you covered.
Johnson & Sons Paving is customer-focused and quality-driven.
Call us today.
262-251-5585.
Johnson & Sons Paving.com.
It's ESPN Wisconsin's Greg Scalzo for Smart Spaces. How can Smart Spaces transform your business?
Really looking at the entire space holistically. The environment, the walls, ceilings, lighting, flooring, furniture, technology, along with acoustics.
To conceptualize how the end users are going to interact with the room, from the furniture all the way down to the AV, having that work seamlessly within the environment and often hiding within the furniture.
Let Smart Spaces transform your business today. Visit smartspaceswi.com.
Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Welcome back on WTMJ. We're joined in studio by Marty Brooks, CEO of the Wisconsin Center District. Thank you so much for joining us on this big day for Milwaukee and for the Wisconsin Center District. A few weeks ago, there was another big announcement about naming rights. Talk about how that came about quickly and what it means for our city and for that company.
Well, as you know, the Wisconsin Center used to be the Midwest Express Center and had a couple of different names, but hasn't in quite a while. And the nice thing from where I sit, getting a naming rights sponsor was never considered part of the financial model to get the funding approved. But it was always something aspirational, that how great would it be to be associated with a Milwaukee company that could we could align with, who had similar values that we do as an organization. And we started talking with the people from Baird, who we already had an outstanding relationship with because they have been our financial advisor for decades, and just a great group to work with. We started speaking with them in the fall. They expressed some interest in finding out more, and it really became a very easy discussion, and then very active after the turn of the year. And very happy that in March, the board approved me to move forward with a 15-year deal with Baird. They're the naming rights partner, and they are just a fabulous group that is so committed to Milwaukee and they're concerned about integrity and how they do business and the care of their customers. And it's a match literally made in heaven between our cultures.
Well, and how amazing that two great companies can work together and really amplify, like you said, those two great cultures for the benefit of our city, for the benefit of our community, and the benefit of our state. Marty Brooks, CEO for the Wisconsin Center District, thank you so much, and good luck today at the topping off ceremony.
And thanks for having me, Tracy. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. All right, and now from the Breaking News Center, here's Eric Bilstead.
Thank you, Tracy. One of the shooting suspects in Fond du Lac has turned himself in. Paris Larry Jr. now in custody, expected in court on homicide charges. He's one of two that police say shot three people at Maplewood Commons in Fond du Lac on Sunday night. A woman was killed. Her name, Tatiana's ex, who is just 20 years old. Police continue to search for another suspect, 17-year-old Antonio Johnston. New York Congressman George Santos has been arrested on federal criminal charges, a 13-count indictment. Prosecutors claim Santos used campaign funds on personal expenses, including luxury designer clothing, and fraudulently applied for COVID-related unemployment benefits. As of now, the House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, is not calling for him to step down. And 4 people hurt following an explosion at a condo complex in Madison. This happened Tuesday evening at Windsor Complex. No one knows what caused that blast. Time now for news about your money and the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management market update. As we look at the stocks right now, mixed bag. The Dow is down 80 to 33,481. The Nasdaq is up 91 to 12,271. And the S&P is up 9 to 41.29. Get on track with investment and retirement planning. Visit annexwealth.com and click the Get Started button today. Checking your roads now from the Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver Traffic Center, 94 eastbound, Highway 16. Through the zoo and into downtown. For the most part, you're looking good. It should be about an 18-minute trip, so pretty much on time there. 4145 southbound, Highway Q to the zoo. That is on time as well. That's 15. Heads up 894 southbound. This is right before you get into the hail there. Left shoulder is blocked right before the interchange because of a disabled vehicle. Shouldn't cause too much trouble, but something to be mindful of. 43 southbound, Brown Deer Road into downtown. That's looking good. That's 12. And 94 northbound. No issues from Layton into the city. That's a 7-minute commute.
Traffic is sponsored by Trees on the Move. From planning to planting, it's Trees on the Move. We all look forward to outdoor living in Wisconsin. From planning to planting and everything in between, now is the perfect time to let Trees on the Move beautify your landscape.
The WTMJ 5-day forecast: sunny, a high of 76. Tonight, clear sky, a low of 50. For your Thursday, partly sunny tomorrow, high of 80. Friday, some showers and a high of 74. Saturday, showers and breezy, a high of 74. Sunday, rain in the forecast again for Mother's Day and a high of 68 degrees. Right now in Milwaukee, it is 64. I'm Eric Bilstad, Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 10:34.
To be the best, you have to beat the best. And in order to beat the best, you have to compete with the best. And I'll tell you what, playing with the best equipment doesn't hurt either, especially when it comes to baseball and softball. We truly believe that. And that's why Burkhardt Sporting Goods stocks the Midwest's largest selection of the finest baseball and softball equipment. More bats, more gloves, and more equipment from all the best names. This is Brian Burkhardt, and when you love baseball and softball like we do, you can't beat Burkhardt. If you plan on draining buzzer beaters, the place to start is Burkhardt, where you'll find a great selection of shoes and court gear. But what's going to turn you into the next big thing on the court is practice. And there's no better place to do it than on your own court. Having your own hoop is an absolute must to hone your shot. And we'll help you get there with a great selection of basketball hoops and accessories. This is Brian Burkhardt, and I promise you, when you love basketball like we do, you can't beat Burkhardt.
Hey, Mother's Day is this Sunday. Don't forget your mom. WTMJ's John Mercure here. I highly recommend the Mother's Day Brunch Buffet at the Mineshaft Restaurant in Hartford. Locally family-owned for over 44 years, it's the most generous and affordable Mother's Day brunch. It's everything your mom loves for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, plus a huge dessert table. And just $24.99, that's a deal. Kids and grandkids under 3 eat free. That's a real deal. Your kids can safely play in that massive game room, quietly tucked away from the dining area while you finish up your brunch. Absolutely perfect. Just think about how much your mom has done for you. Show your love and appreciation with a fabulous Mother's Day brunch at the Mineshaft on Main Street in downtown Hartford and in Oshkosh. Plenty of seating at both, close parking at both. Reservations are required. Tables will fill quickly, so reserve today. Mineshaftrestaurant.com, serving from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Mother's Day at the Mineshaft. Mineshaftrestaurant.com.
Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Welcome back on WTMJ. It is 10:36. Sorry to yell. I think I scared Eric Bilstad out of the studio. So this weekend, like many of you, I spent hours watching my kids' sports. Can you relate? Sports in the spring, they are a thing, right? It's, what are you doing this weekend? I'm watching my kids. I had a track meet on Saturday in the rain. It was 40 minutes from my house. Can you relate? Then immediately followed, I had a soccer game in the rain, and that was 40 minutes from the track meet. We left the meet early, went to the game, and there were 20 other sets of parents on our team, and then 20 sets of parents on the other team who showed up. We all warmed up. We waited for the game to start, for the refs to show up. We waited. We waited. We waited. So for our league, our refs are paid, and they're trained, and they're sanctioned by the league. And so we connected with them, or our coach had connected with them, and we were waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally, the coach made the call and said, where are the refs? And it turns out that the refs were never going to show up. They had bailed. All right. Can you relate to this situation? And he kind of was hemming and hawing. He said, then people were like, well, what happened? What happened? Did they get in a car accident? Was it prom? What was the reason that they didn't show up? And what he said, and this was the message that was relayed, was that the refs were sick of getting yelled at.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. My jaw dropped. And I thought, really? Really? And I'm sitting here. I have a 12-year-old. So we have 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds on the team. And, I can't even fathom that this is happening. And I know I sit along the sidelines and, we're cheering for our kids. If the ref makes a call, it's kind of standard practice that you're like, oh, man, ref, open your eyes. You're not like ripping on him. I hear it, but not a lot. In fact, as a parent in the league that I play in, or that my son plays in, we have to sign a waiver, like a code of conduct that says, we will behave and we won't yell at the refs. And then we get periodic emails that says, watch your behavior and make sure you're not yelling. And, it got me thinking about, what is going on in the sidelines. And maybe it's just not my reality that I'm hearing a lot of this, back and forth between the sidelines. And most of the refs here in this particular league happen to be teenagers or young adults. And I know that depending on what the league is, you have to have different levels of certification. So in the end here, they postponed the game. And I was thinking about what a huge, inconvenience this has all created. Think about all the time that these parents have spent traveling to this location. If this time is money, right? Think about all the time and the opportunity costs spent. It's stunning. And it's because you have some parents who just can't behave. Or, I have to be honest, part of my thinking was, how thin-skinned are these kids? Can they not handle this? So I kind of go back and forth, and I guess you got to be there. So when I was telling this story to some friends, I was directed to an article in the Wall Street Journal. And some of you may have seen this article. It's about a gentleman named Don Bozufi. He is a Little League umpire in New Jersey who has a solution for some of these unruly parents that may just be onto something. So, as I mentioned, he is an umpire for Little League in New Jersey, and recently, two of his colleagues, who were both umpires, quit because of unruly parental behavior. So, instead of complaining about it, he, as a youth baseball volunteer, blasted on Facebook this message. He said, effective immediately in the event of unruly or abusive behavior by a spectator or game attendee that is deemed necessarily to impose the code of conduct, that offender will be barred from further attendance at the Deptford Township Little League until he or she agrees to and completes 3 umpiring assignments at our complex. So, in short, if you act like a jerk to one of our Little League umpires, you're going to have to become a Little League umpire to see what it's like. All right? You got to walk in our shoes. See what it's like. So is this a good idea? 855-616-1620 on the Old National Bank talk and text line. Should unruly parents be forced to have a taste of their own medicine and, frankly, made an example of when they're out of line? Is this what it's going to take? Because I just don't see this getting better. And you hear about it, whether it's there's a basketball incident a few years ago where the refs actually, blasted on the loudspeaker to the parents. But is this a good solution? If you are outside the code of conduct, if you are dismissed from the game, you will not be allowed back in until you actually ref a couple games. See what it's like. 855-616-1620 on the Old National Bank talk and text line. Should we force unruly parents to get a taste of their own medicine if they violate a code of conduct? 855-616-1620 on the Old National Bank talk and text line. We will discuss. Take your calls, take your texts after the break. I'm Tracy Johnson, in for Steve Scaffidi on WTMJ.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
I want to talk about annuities and variable life insurance policies. And I'm going to come right out and say that I've never been a fan of either. In fact, in over 30 years, I have rarely recommended annuities to clients. And in that same time, I've never recommended a variable life insurance policy. Now, it's always a matter of opinion, and there are two sides to every story. I just want to make sure that you've heard both sides for both options. So if you're looking at those types of products, give us a call, because it's prudent to hear all sides. At the very least, we can give you the pros and cons and help you make a good decision. I'm Jim Cantrell with Financial Strategies, Inc., a fee-only, comprehensive financial planning firm, and I believe we can show you a wiser way to build your wealth. So go to financialstrategiesinc.com and schedule a no-cost consultation.
Financial strategies, a wiser way to build your wealth.
May is here, and as a Wisconsinite, you know that marks the start of sun, warmth, and joy. So when the rubber meets the road, you better be ready for the changing weather and the adventures that may lie ahead. This is Jim Griffin. Don't worry whether you are a new or existing customer on the north, west, or south side of town. You are as welcome as the flowers in May. We have you covered with the marvelous service specials. We'll change your oil, inspect and rotate your tires, check the battery and air filter, give it a complete multi-point inspection, check your AC or your heat, and even change your wiper blades, all for $129.95. During the month of May, don't let your vehicle's safety and changing weather compromise your adventures. Be ready for the roads. As much confidence and peace of mind as possible when you take advantage of the marvelous service specials good at all 5 Griffin dealerships.
Earn points every time you shop with Fleet Rewards. 500 points gets you a $5 reward. It's free and easy to sign up, in-store or online. Sign up today and start saving with Fleet Rewards at Fleet Farm.
At Fisher Investments, our clients know we have their backs.
How do your clients know that?
Because Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, the highest standard for a financial advisor. It means we're there for our clients and always put their interests first.
So wait. You do it because you have to?
No, we do it because it's the right thing to do. Our clients trust us with their retirement savings, and we know how important that responsibility is. So we take the time to really get to know them.
Get to know them how?
We make sure we understand their unique goals, finances, health, family, and lifestyle, so we can tailor their portfolio to their specific needs. Our goal is to help them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Sounds like a big responsibility. You must make big commissions then, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We have one single transparent fee that's structured so we do better when our clients do better. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you are switching to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
This is a U10 game, right? You need to act like a parent, okay? No, you're being sarcastic. You need to act like a parent, okay? Because all these other parents aren't doing it. It is a regular game. It's a U10 game. Thank you, okay? Because I will send you right off. And your team is doing a good job. All the boys are doing a good job. You're the only one going at it, and you are a parent. So you need to act like a parent. Thank you. You need to go now. Bye.
Okay.
horrible.
Really? You're the first one that's ever told me that in 10 years.
Well, then you should be evaluated.
Go ahead. Would you
Because
like
it's
to
not
evaluate
ball
me?
negative, but
Be my guest.
it affects the path of the ball.
If you're going to keep on talking, you can keep talking walking that way because I don't need to hear it.
I already heard you say that.
I'm sorry. Guess what? I'm not like that, so you can leave.
Well, you're wobbling your head up.
Because you're actually getting on my nerves, so you can leave.
I can tell you sound like you're going to cry.
No, you're not going to make me cry.
Don't let him get
I'm
close.
sorry
I'm
that
not
a
trying
parent
to.
your age can act this way towards a young lady for one, and someone who's officiating your son.
Listen, ladies got nothing to do with it. Call the game, call a good game.
I
won't
have
say
been
nothing.
calling a good game.
No, you're
I've
not.
never had a complaint.
You have one now, so
Well,
you can
thank
put
you.
that
I'll
on your
make sure I
record
put
book.
that on my Christmas
You
list.
should. 'Cause
See ya.
I'm going. Relax, girl.
Excuse me?
Relax.
And what did you
Girl.
call me? Someone didn't raise you right. See ya.
Okay. Sorry, dude.
Here's your jersey. All right.
I'm leaving.
Okay, but your comments keep going. You're just
So do
making my
yours.
day. That's
Ref the
fine.
game.
I'm
Be
doing
professional.
The game. You're not doing the game.
Okay,
Go ahead.
okay. Keep waving your arm.
Okay, keep going. Keep going. You told me to keep going. Keep
Okay,
going.
girl.
That's fine. It makes you feel better. Keep going.
Woo! Those are fighting words. But these are familiar situations, right? This is just audio from a typical U10 game. And this girl, she's probably under 20 years old if you saw the YouTube of it. And there's an adult man parent. And they got into it. And this is yeah, there's competition, but come on. Like, this is just all too common. And, we are robbing kids of the opportunity to play a game. I was recounting the fact that I had spent hours of my Saturday waiting around and refs didn't show up. And they said the reason they didn't show up is because the parents were unruly and they were unable to adequately handle it. And there's a solution. There's a solution that an umpire in New Jersey has come up with. He says, you know what? If you're kicked out of the game, you are not coming back until you umpire 3 games and you see what it's like. And then maybe you will have some more respect for the situation. And the other thing, you guys, when you listen to some of this confrontation, this escalates. This escalates. And in a world where escalation can lead to physical violence, or if someone has a gun, I hate to go there. But this needs to stop. All right, Mike from Illinois, you're on line 1. What do you think?
Good morning, Tracy. How are you?
Great.
So obviously the guy has a good idea, but to try to enforce that would be pretty much impossible. I think the best way is just to suspend them from a certain amount of games. You don't even know if someone is qualified to referee a game. I know refs have to go through some training to do that, and someone's not going to do that. So I would just say suspending them from some games would be enough. But sometimes the ref needs to check themselves too, because sometimes you're going to get a little bit of riding from spectators. That's part of the game.
It is.
I don't care. And obviously when it's young kids, it's a little bit crazy, but it's going to happen. But yes, if someone is being extremely disrespectful, certainly using any kind of profanity, that's grounds to kick somebody out. And they just have to, the league, whatever league it is, has to, make that stick for any certain amount of games. Obviously, they have to have a policy in place. But trying to make someone referee a game, I don't see how you could make that happen.
Mike, thanks for the call. I think he makes a really good point that, you have to meet certain criteria. And that was certainly the case in this league that my son played for. They want this game to count. And so you have to meet certain criteria. But, is this really fair to the kids? I mean, think about these kids who often are, playing in some of these leagues. They want to get scholarships. This is, their outlet. Some kids, depending on the league, this is their organized, activity for the week. This is a big deal. And so, will this work to get the parents under control? I don't think it's getting better. This is getting worse. And yes, from the 262, yes, this is a first world problem, but this is how kids spend their days. I would much rather my kid is running around a soccer field than sitting and rotting in front of a TV and playing video games. And if you don't have all the pieces of this puzzle in place, if you don't have coaches, if you don't have refs, if you don't have umpires to make this all work, this all falls apart. This all falls apart. We had a couple of other good texts. I'll get to those when we come back. But, weigh in. 855-616-1620 on the Old National Bank talk and text line. Is there a better solution to get these parents under control on the sidelines? What else can be done? Do we make them umpire? Do we make them ref to get a taste of their own medicine? I'm Tracy Johnson, in for Steve Scaffidi on WTMJ.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
There are heroes among us who run toward danger rather than away from it. We call them first responders. This is Steve Scaffidi. WTMJ is partnering with Educators Credit Union to honor police officers, firefighters, and countless others who work every day to protect our families and loved ones. Do you have a first responder you would like to nominate? Go to WTMJ.com, click on the Salute to Service banner, and share your story. We'll bring you the incredible stories during Salute to Service month in May.
Steve Scaffidi's Salute to Service with Educators Credit Union. Details now at WTMJ.com.
What if you could build a six-figure retirement income with almost half the money saved? You heard that right. Get a discount on your retirement, creating a six-figure income with 40% less than traditional 401ks and mutual funds. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, best-selling author and executive producer of a new Hollywood documentary called The Baby Boomer Dilemma. In this film, economists and Nobel Prize-winning PhDs from Wharton, MIT, and Stanford share a strange concept I call the retirement discount. It gives you more retirement income with the same dollar saved, and your money is never at risk if the market crashes. That's right. If the market crashes 30%, you lose nothing. Even people who are on track have shifted money to this new strategy because it increases their retirement income or can allow them to stop working years sooner. So if you are over 50 and want a bigger, better retirement with less money, call to get a free copy of this brand new movie, 1-800-578-3535. This is a $30 value, but when you call today, you get it completely free, plus 2 hours of bonus behind-the-scenes footage. No credit card required. Call right now. 1-800-578-3535. That's 1-800-578-3535. Again, 1-800-578-3535.
There are over 10,000 reasons why steel is not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot. There are over 10,000 authorized local steel dealers. Find yours at steelusa.com. Lowe's and the Home Depot are trademarks of their respective companies.
I'm Brett Matschke, and you're due for service.
CPAP is one option that can be used to keep the throat open at night. It can work. There are other ways of keeping that airway open other than the machine. Another option that most people have never heard of is an oral appliance. An oral appliance is like a retainer that you wear when you're sleeping at night. It's super slim, slides in your mouth, and what it does is it helps to keep your airway open. That's exactly what a CPAP machine does. Most people who are good candidates for a CPAP machine to treat their sleep apnea are also good candidates for an oral appliance. Most of those people never get offered an oral appliance. Advent has decided to change the practice of medicine in this country by offering oral appliances to our patients. And what that means is we are allowing our patients to have the choice of a CPAP machine oral appliance when they have sleep apnea, and that's a big deal.
Breathe well with simple solutions. AdventNows.com.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station. Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show.
All right, back. Welcome back. It's 10:55 on WTMJ. Talking about the behavior of parents on the sidelines and a possible solution by an umpire in New Jersey who says if you are ejected from the game, if you violate a code of conduct, you're going to have to see what it's like. See what it's like to be in my shoes and take the hits from the parents. And in all honesty, and this is coming through on the text line, 99% of the time, parents are well behaved. 99% of the time, you don't have a problem. But the 1% of the time that this happens and the ripple effect that it has for these leagues, for these kids, on these teams, it has to stop. It has to stop. And these young people who are reffing are not getting any tougher. And maybe that's something we need to do is give them some de-escalation training. I mean, that would not only help them in the reffing world, but in the real world as well. But in so many of these cases, and in many of these cases that are documented and probably being shown as examples, this is really concerning. And we played some audio in the last segment that it really made me upset listening to this young ref and this parent or grandparent, interacting and just chiding each other on. We just don't need this in the name of kids' sports. And to have people just not show up and to disrupt the entire kind of chain of events, the course of events for a game, for a tournament, and the impact that this has. And then let's also consider what these kids see, and what they perceive as appropriate behavior. If you have parents on the sidelines who just can't be quiet, yes, you should be able to cheer your kids on. And I do that every time my kid's out on the field. You should be able to do that. But the refs, they're off limits. And poking at the other team, that's off limits. And I know that the people in this audience understand that. And perhaps there's some de-escalation that could go on amongst parents on the sidelines if we see this kind of getting out of control. We had one texter who said they were actually kicked out of a game. They were walked out of a game because they said something. It doesn't sound like it was too bad, but nevertheless, they were kicked out of the game. And let's just say that never happened again. So maybe some of these punishments, some of these repercussions need to be played out, need to be made more public. But other texters are saying, how do you enforce this? How do you enforce this? We need to self-police on this, though. And we are entering that spring and summer sports season, so we need to watch out for one another. Let's just have some fun out there. Competition is great, and competition is important, but we need to be nice. So thank you for all of your feedback, and hopefully this will give you something to think about. And who knows, maybe there's a league out there that's got this rule put in place, and you might be in for a surprise. So when we come back, I will be joined by my friend and developer, Tim Gockman, who will help us dig into this topic of apartments. I'm sure as you're driving around your community, as you're driving around downtown Milwaukee, you see cranes, you see apartments everywhere going up. So what's behind this? He's going to help us figure that out. We're also going to talk about affordability and what's happening in the suburbs. I'm Tracy Johnson, in for Steve Scaffidi here on WTMJ.
You're listening to the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
At Evans Transportation, they love the sound of Milwaukee baseball. Bats cracking, crowds cheering, brats grilling. And Evans is a big fan of manufacturing runs, both on the diamond and in supply chain management. When manufacturers have accounting, shipping, and tracking needs, they come to Evans. Because just like in baseball, teams who know how to manufacture runs have the best chance of long-term success. Good luck to the Brew Crew from Evans and Delafield. Find them at evanstrans.com.
Ready to downsize and move from your longtime home? Call Bruce's team today. Their senior real estate specialist will guide you every step of the way. Go from overwhelmed to I can do this. 262-242-6177. Bruce'sTeam.com.
Cut through the clutter with Axiom, the weekly newsletter from Annex Wealth Management. Subscribe today for 7 insights built and delivered to you every Sunday. It'll help you navigate the markets and the things that affect your money. The Axiom. Sign up at AnnexWealth.com.
What's better than the look and feel of real leather? The amazing prices at Steinhafels.
The place to get caught up, to speak out, to connect and be entertained. We are Wisconsin's radio station. News Radio 620 WTMJ, Milwaukee.
At 11:01, 65 degrees, highs in the mid-70s today. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Eric Bilstead. New York Republican Congressman George Santos now in custody. after turning himself into authorities in New York to face federal criminal charges. 13 counts against the congressman include misusing unemployment benefits and campaign funds. ABC's Aaron Katursky.
Federal prosecutors have accused Congressman Santos of fraudulently inducing supporters to contribute funds to a company that he set up. And the indictment says he did that under the false pretense that the money would be used to support his candidacy, when in fact, Santos actually spent thousands of dollars of the solicited funds on personal expenses, including luxury designer clothing and credit card payments.
Here at home, the FBI confirming the involvement of a Safe Streets task force taking place right now. The MPD also involved executing search warrants in many areas, including 16th and Capitol, 35th and Capitol, also getting reports of agencies involved near 72nd and Silver Spring. Now, these search warrants that are being executed today by the FBI and by other local law enforcement are sealed. So as of now, could not say, or we can't get details on exactly what they're looking for and why these suspects are being taken into custody. We do expect more details as the day goes on. Again, FBI being spotted in various areas of Milwaukee this morning. This week is the end of the national public health emergency for COVID-19.
That's likely going to mean more costs for tests and treatment of the virus. Milwaukee County Chief Health Policy Advisor Dr. Ben Weston says that won't go into effect immediately for drugs like Paxlovid.
But after that, these critical medications will, in most cases, likely be associated with a cost that varies depending on insurance.
Similarly, the COVID vaccine will remain free for the remainder of the existing government stock, but President and CEO of the Medical College of Wisconsin, Dr. John Raymond, tells WTMJ that's not going to move the needle on people getting the shot.
I think the people that want to get them will still go ahead and do it.
Wyatt Barmore-Pooley, WTMJ News.
If you are less than happy with airline service, you have plenty of company. CBS correspondent Jim Krasula.
JetBlue and Southwest Airlines have reason to fly high. They rank #1 respectively for premium service and customer service in the annual J.D. Power North American Airline Satisfaction Report. Some 8,000 business and leisure travelers were surveyed. It found overall airline satisfaction continues to decline.
Sports, traffic, and weather next. Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:04.
When I came up with this half-combumbled idea of opening a furniture store in Milwaukee, I still think you're crazy.
Ben and Arvid from Penny Mustard Furnishings.
My college professors, I was quitting college to start this, and they were, oh, absolutely, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. I had a girlfriend told me not to do it.
But I guess we kind of looked at it as, what's the worst that could happen? We'd have been in debt and we'd owed a lot of money back.
It wouldn't have been that much money. We didn't have that much money, and nobody borrowed us any, so.
So what if I had to work 3 years to pay off all that debt before I made any money again for myself and then go forward from there again?
PennyMustard.com.
It's ESPN Wisconsin's Greg Scalzo for Smart Spaces. How can Smart Spaces transform your business?
The technology frustrations we hear about, hands down, ease of use.
We take that complexity out of it and keep it down to the bare minimum of what they need and what they use.
Our goal is to lend a level of simplicity that any knowledge level can walk into that room and at a glance know exactly how to turn that room on and utilize all of its features.
Let Smart Spaces transform your business today. Visit smartspaceswi.com.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
This is Brian Wickert back to report even more home buyers paid over the asking price last month, rising to 50% in the 5-county metro area. 3 out of 10 paid $10,000 or more above that list price. The good news is appraised values are generally keeping up with the over-asking offers. Still, the most powerful thing a buyer can do to make their offer the most attractive in a multiple offer situation is to give the seller some appraisal wiggle room. Telling the seller you're willing to pay over the asking price, even if the house appraises lower, sounds scary because most buyers think they have to fill that potential gap with more down payment. But in the vast majority of cases, AccuNet is showing home buyers how they can offer appraisal wiggle room without bringing a nickel more to closing. Appraisal wiggle room is like a good card trick. You need to see it to believe it. So if you're home shopping with a flimsy, unimaginative bank pre-approval, upgrade today to an AccuNet rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval by clicking on the blue button at AccuNet.com. That's ACCUNET.com.
The Milwaukee Brewers lose Game 2 of their 3-game series to the Los Angeles Dodgers by a final score of 6-2. Eric Lauer got to start forward with the Brew Crew, going 3 2/3 innings while surrendering 3 earned runs. The 20-16 Brewers will go for the series victory later today. Coverage begins right here on WTMJ at 12:05. Over to the NFL, where the Packers will make Jordan Love, Aaron Jones, and Kenny Clark all available to the media today as the offseason activities continue in Green Bay. And soon the Packers will know what Love and company are up against as the NFL is set to release their 2023 schedule on Thursday. And lastly, over to the NBA, where the Philadelphia 76ers and Denver Nuggets grabbed wins on Tuesday night, giving both teams the 3-game series lead. Philly takes down Boston by a final score of 115-103, and Denver cools down the Suns by a final of 118-102. Round 2 continues tonight with Miami and New York tipping off at 6:30, followed by the Lakers and Warriors at 9 p.m. I'm Brandon Snide, WTMJ Sports.
Checking the roads now with your Johnson & Sons paving time-saver traffic. Right now, things looking good on the roadway. 94 eastbound. Highway 16 all the way in is fine at 17 minutes. 4145 south, Highway Q to the Zoo, 15-minute commute there, no problem. 43 southbound, Brown Deer Road into the city looking good, and 94 northbound, no issues there either. From Layton into downtown, 7-minute trip.
Traffic is sponsored by Harwood Place Senior Living. Learn about Harwood Place Retirement Living's newly renovated apartments and updated pricing options at their June 1st open house. To RSVP or to schedule a tour, visit harwoodplace.org.
The WTMJ 5-day forecast, cloudy, now sunny, very sunny today, a high of 76. Tonight, clear sky, a low of 50. For Thursday, partly sunny tomorrow, high of 80 inland. For Friday, some rain and a high of 74 inland. Saturday, rainy, a high of 74. Sunday, rainy, breezy, and a high of 68 on Sunday. Right now in Milwaukee, it is 63 degrees. I'm Eric Bilstead-Side in Unlimited WTMJ News Time, 11:08.
Breaking down the biggest stories, talking about what truly matters.
Sometimes I'll start a sentence, and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way, like an improv conversation.
And letting your voice be heard.
Hello. A political poll. I never have before, but go ahead, shoot. I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what that means.
Live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue.
It's showtime, everybody! Showtime!
Hey, people, it's showtime!
All right, everybody, it's showtime.
All right, everybody, it's showtime!
Now take your position. It's showtime.
Now in for Steve, here's your host, Tracy Johnson.
Welcome back to the show here on WTMJ. I'm so glad that you are with us today. Steve is out in D.C. He'll be back on Friday for regularly scheduled programming. But in the meantime, I am here till noon today and then back 9 to 12 tomorrow. So as we covered in my day job, I serve as the president for the Commercial Real Estate Association. So that is my passion, that is my love, that is my interest. And more than the projects themselves, I find the people to be fascinating, inspiring, and totally engaging. They are entrepreneurial in their thinking, and they take big risks. They also help build our communities through housing, apartments. And today, we're joined by one of my good friends in the industry, Tim Gochman, Managing Director for Newland Enterprises, the developer for many apartments around Milwaukee and the country, including Rhythm on Water Street and the newly opened Ascent, the world's tallest timber building. Welcome, Tim.
Hi, Tracy. Good morning.
Good morning. So you know this market pretty well as an owner and manager for a lot of units throughout the city and throughout, you have national holdings, correct?
So far, actually, our holdings are just in Milwaukee.
Just in Milwaukee. So, but I know you get a lot of inspiration from your national travels. So tell us a little bit more about the scope of Newland's portfolio.
So Newland has been around since 1993, and we are most known for the new construction projects that we build. But what I think people are sometimes surprised to find out is that about a quarter of our portfolio, and we manage about 2,000 apartments, a quarter of our portfolio is what we call NOAH, naturally occurring affordable housing. These are vintage buildings built between 1920 and 1960, and they're all over the east side, Walker's Point, and they're kind of the typical 4-story red brick buildings that you expect to see. And then in addition to that, we also have a couple of 100,000 square feet of commercial space. And so some of the notable buildings we have are the Oriental Theater, which just wrapped up the Milwaukee Film Festival. And we also concepted and operate Crossroads Collective, which is a food hall on Milwaukee's east side, and helped concept and operate the Black Cat Alley, which is right behind the Oriental Theater. But of course, the majority of our activity and portfolio is ground up, new construction, market rate, multifamily housing.
So, and speaking of that, the most prominent project I'd probably say is of late is the Ascent. And our association actually hosted an event there. You hosted us at an event there yesterday evening. Tell us why that's so noteworthy as a timber building right here in Milwaukee.
Ascent, as you noted, is the tallest mass timber building in the world. And when we planned this project, we did not design it to break the world record. That came through 3 design iterations as we were balancing the economics of the project. But when you set a world record, people come from all over the world to take a look at the building. So yesterday we hosted a London-based developer with a team from DC. Before that, a team from Denver. We've hosted people from all over the country. And the reason why people are so excited about it is because mass timber is this really incredible building technology that I think will completely revolutionize the way that we design and build buildings. And in Milwaukee, we're very fortunate to have the predecessor to this technology. They're called heavy timber buildings. So if you've spent time in the Third Ward, you've seen them. That's where a building's column or a beam is made out of wood. It's typically a tree that made up that individual column or beam. The reason why we chose to build in mass timber is because the aesthetics are incredible. People love the warmth of it. There's a science behind it. It's called biophilia. But as we were designing it, we discovered that there are a ton of benefits beyond just the aesthetics, which are incredible. We have a building that is lighter, about 60% lighter than concrete, so fewer piles going into the ground. The construction was faster. We gained about 3 months on the construction schedule. The mass timber technology is way more precise than concrete and steel. And then, of course, it's far more sustainable because we have forests where we can continue to grow wood. There are no concrete and steel forests.
So, and that especially is important for, renters or tenants nowadays, considering all of the focus on LEED and ESG and green technology. How does this factor into the cost of construction or the cost to rent or be a tenant in one of those buildings?
So the technology is still relatively, in the United States, new. It's been happening for decades in Europe, which leads the way. Canada's in second place, and the United States is catching up. So in the short run, I compare mass timber a lot to electric vehicles. When Tesla first came out, it wasn't cost competitive. You didn't have the Model 3. That's where we are progressing with mass timber right now. Right now, it's a slight premium in certain situations. There's an economic case to be made for it. But for the time being, it's predominantly used for big buildings that would be built out of concrete. So we're talking about the upper spectrum of the price point created. But in the long run, I think it becomes a lot more efficient and delivers a ton of value and solves a lot of problems because it has a lot of those prefab or modular building type components and solutions, which make construction a lot more efficient. And frankly, that is the industry that needs it the most. We haven't really innovated significantly in how we build for decades.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this project is it produces and exemplifies a new way of thinking in the construction process. And in a day and age when there are so many unknowns and so many factors, whether you're talking about supply chain or labor shortage, you need to figure out a different way. And this project is just so interesting. I know there's been significant coverage of it, and I encourage others to take a look at that when they're able. So I want to ask you about the housing shortage here in Wisconsin. Obviously, this is something that you would look at and think about all the time as an owner and operator of multifamily units. We talk specifically about that shortage in single-family homes, while the opposite is true of multifamily development. You see multifamily, dense housing going up everywhere. Why do you think this is the case?
Well, I think that's partially true. There's certainly a housing shortage in single-family homes, and that's not a market we're active in. But for multifamily, the majority of activity that you see downtown Milwaukee are high-rises, right? You've got big cranes building the Couture and Heinz's project in the Third Ward, and Ascend just finished up, and before that, Northwestern Mutual 777. What we don't see a lot of are projects like what we did in Bayview called Kinetic. That's a podium building, and that is really the most efficient way to deliver new construction multifamily housing. And it's really difficult to execute, especially in the current environment with construction costs and interest rates. And so we still have a huge gap, a supply gap in multifamily for that quote unquote middle market housing.
Tim Gochman, Managing Director for Newland Enterprises. Tim, when we come back, I want to ask you about the development activity in the suburbs. I know we're getting a couple of text questions about surrounding communities. What's happening there when it comes to multifamily, when it comes to apartment development? More when we come back with Tim Gochman. I'm Tracy Johnson, in for Steve Scaffidi on WTMJ.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Analyzing the best of the diamond from every degree. Brewers 360. Your comprehensive look at all things Brewers, on and off the field.
Swing and a drive to right and deep. Get up!
Hear from Brewers reporters, announcers, and members of the front office every morning on Wisconsin's Morning News at 7:45. It's Brewers 360, presented by Holiday Automotive and Outdoor Living Unlimited.
If you want to be sure that you're getting financial planning advice you can trust, work with a fiduciary. A fiduciary should be someone who acts as a steward for you. It means they treat your assets as if they were their own, that they protect them as if they were their own, and that they try to grow them as if they were their own. Now you can take this for what it's worth, but I'm doing all I can to run a firm you can trust. That's why we're a fee-only, comprehensive financial planning firm that doesn't work for anyone but our clients and focuses only on their best interest. By being a steward, being a fiduciary to help our clients reach their financial goals. I'm Jim Cantrell, and I believe we can show you a wiser way to build your wealth. So go to financialstrategiesinc.com and schedule a no-cost consultation.
Financial strategies, a wiser way to build your wealth.
The new Burkhardt Sporting Goods is now open in New Berlin, and it is the baseball lover's destination. With a massive state-of-the-art indoor training facility featuring hit tracks with precision analytics, a huge open turf area, and all the best training equipment you need. And we carry the Midwest's largest bat selection from all the major brands that you can try before you buy. I'm Brian Burkhardt, and if you love baseball and softball like we do, you gotta see the new Burkhardt Sporting Goods on 155th and National in New Berlin.
You can't beat Burkhardt.
If you plan on draining buzzer beaters, the place to start is Burkhardt, where you'll find a great selection of shoes and court gear. But what's going to turn you into the next big thing on the court is practice. And there's no better place to do it than on your own court. Having your own hoop is an absolute must to hone your shot. And we'll help you get there with a great selection of basketball hoops and accessories. This is Brian Burkhardt, and I promise you, when you love basketball like we do,
you can't beat Burkhardt.
Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
11:20 on WTMJ. I'm Tracy Johnson, in for Steve Scaffidi. We're on the phone with Managing Director of Newland Enterprises, Tim Gochman, good friend, developer in our city, in our community. We're talking about apartment development. You've all seen the cranes in the air. You've seen the groundbreaking. You've seen the dirt. You've seen some of the construction. So what's really behind that? And Tim, we're seeing a lot of apartment developments being proposed in suburban communities right now, not just in downtown Milwaukee, but they're running into zoning challenges. What can we do to educate those in opposition to the benefits of creating greater density through multifamily development? Or should that density continue to be focused really in those more central urban areas?
Well, it's a great question. And I think part of that answer lies within the community, right? Each community gets to decide what they want to be. And if a community decides that it doesn't want density, then that's fine. I think that any community that has the word city in it should act like a city. And so if 58 feet is too tall for you, then you're not a city. You're a town or a village. But when it comes to education, I think the data is the most powerful thing, and I think it's the only way to make educated decisions. Right? We talk about community meetings, and questions on parking come up really, really often, right? And people have an emotional response to it. And they say, oh, well, this is going to cause a lot of traffic. Well, you can get a parking study done instead of making anecdotal observations about traffic. You can get studies on parking usage and done and see how many parking spots, what times of day are being used. And so I think the conversation has become a lot more productive when you do the upfront research to figure out what are the actually underlying data points. But in terms of density, I always ask people, especially when we're talking about parking, I always ask people, okay, well, when you travel, what type of environment do you seek out, right? If you're going to one of the great European capitals, or even going to a different city, where do you want to be and what do you want to do? I don't think anybody ever answers, I want to get to somewhere in my car really, really quickly, right? People always seek out walkable environments. And my question then is, well, why wouldn't you want to live in that same type of place? Why would you want to prioritize the ability to park right out front to wherever you're going over the ability to have a really enjoyable walking environment? And that I think is the question that cities need to answer.
Well, and speaking of data, Tim, there are more and more baby boomers who are looking to move out of their single family homes into a condo. You don't build condos, but we've talked about this, and you have a really good answer for why. Why are we not seeing more condos, but more apartments?
Yeah, great question. And we used to build a lot of condos. I think that condos have their purpose. I think they're very difficult to build. So part of what I see, and back to anecdotal, I haven't looked at the data recently, but it doesn't feel like the sales prices of condominiums have ever recovered sufficiently enough to justify that new construction cost premium. On top of it, I think that it's difficult. You have a building where you have a bunch of owners, and they're being asked to become asset managers. They're being asked to become real estate investors because you have to make long-term decisions. And most people that's not what they do for a living. And so you have some long-term decisions being made that are not in the best interest of the asset. Whereas an apartment building gives people a lot of flexibility, and you have a professional building manager that should be taking care of that building really, really well. I think condos are tough. And then on top of it, you've got a natural kind of predisposition towards litigation. Condos are really, really litigious. And you have an unfavorable tax system versus apartments.
So
those are the headwinds.
Yeah, and then I think it's something that also comes down to education, because we get that question a lot, and you probably get that question a lot. We need more condos. We need more opportunities for that ownership. So, final question: as an apartment developer and owner, you are clearly an expert on community development and understanding what people want, what renters and owners want. In our city, Mayor Cavalier Johnson has said, I want to grow the population to 1 million. We are at 600,000 right now. What do we need to do to get there?
Well, I think this administration has been absolutely incredible, both for the progress in development in the city of Milwaukee, the conversations with the state about the sales tax. The amount that has been achieved during the mayor's short tenure is incredible. And so I am so hopeful for Milwaukee. And the fact that he has this really audacious goal, and in a good sense, is important, because without audacious goals, you can't have audacious results. right? We saw this like with the moon landing for the federal government. But audacious goals require audacious actions, and we've seen a lot of investment in public infrastructure relative to what it's been, but relative to other cities, what I see in Detroit, what I see in Des Moines, what I see in Denver, they're doing more. And it's my obsession, but I think that cities are in a fight for talent, especially with the rise of remote work. People and companies are choosing where they want to be on the quality of life. And to me, it goes back to walkable cities with really great public gathering spaces. And I think we have to double down on that investment.
Tim Gockman.
On top of that, sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't know if we have time. I was going to say, on top of that, I think one of the really cool ideas that the federal government also used to do is crowdsource really great ideas for how to use technology to improve efficiency and quality of customer service. And I think it'd be really cool if the city of Milwaukee could do that too.
Tim Gockman, I love your optimism, and I love that you are a partner with the public sector in trying to make this happen. I, like you, believe that if you don't set big goals out there, you will never achieve them, and that is demonstrated by your investment and, in your work with the Ascent and other great projects like that. Thank you so much, Tim Gockman, Managing Director for Newland Enterprises. When we come back, we'll wrap on this topic. It's 11:28 here on WTMJ.
You're listening to the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ. All the glitz and glamour headed our way, and we've rolled out the red carpet just for them.
And a chopper up the third baseline, charging as Anderson, bare hand throw across his body. Oh my goodness, Brian Anderson.
It's the Brewers and the Dodgers. Our Brewers Radio Network game day coverage starts today at 12:05.
Backhanded by Adames, throw, one knocked at first, in time. Oh, what a play by Adames.
We are the home of the Brewers, WTMJ.
Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. That's Murphy's Law, right? Put an AC guru from Team Austin up against Murphy's Law, and smart money is on us. Eric Smith here from Austin Plumbing, Heating, and Air. And when we take your air conditioner apart, and just so you know, we will, our guru has the opportunity to see exactly where the problems are, or could develop in the future. It's not a rag snap-in safety inspection and get down the road kind of a deal. Nope, we're coming at Murphy with torches blazing. By the time we're done, your AC isn't just reassembled, it's returned to factory fresh conditions and guaranteed against breakdowns all summer long. A machine that'll save energy dollars, not gobble them up. We're going to leave it a better running, more reliable version of itself. And if we find a cause for concern or future breakdown, let me coin a phrase. If we see something, we'll say something. Team Austin is here to help you win the war against summer heat. So back off, Murphy. Book your AC tune-up now and get a jump on the heat. Go to teamaustin.com.
Wealth-changing question. Has your advisor created a portfolio based only on your age and risk tolerance? That's simply not good enough. Your money deserves better, and so do you. At Creative Planning, our private wealth managers learn about you first. And then they create a customized plan and portfolio by partnering with our in-house money managers, accountants, and attorneys. Don't settle for a standard portfolio. Book your free meeting today at creativeplanning.com. Creative Planning, a richer way to wealth.
I know you have a great dog, right? But you know there's room for improvement. At Sit Means Sit Dog Training, we can help. Our attention-based training system uses modern technology to help you better communicate with your dog, even in high distraction. When you schedule a free consultation with us, you will have the opportunity to see our training in action and meet for yourself our happy dogs off leash and under control. Contact Sit Means Sit today at 262-361-3641 or find us on the web at sitmeansitwaukesha.com to schedule your free consultation so you can have a happy, confident, and obedient dog.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Big thanks to Tim Gockman for joining me last half hour. You're not going to want to miss this next segment about NIMBYs. NIMBYs, not in my backyard. We will have that after the news. But right now, here's Eric Bilstad from the WTMJ Breaking News Center.
Thank you, Tracy. 21 people will need a new place to live after an explosion at a condo complex in Madison happened Tuesday evening on the city's west side at the Windsor condominiums near Gammon and Park Ridge. Now, the fire department says that building that exploded housed 8 condo units. The blast damaged all 8 units as well as a neighboring building that also had 8 units in it. New York Congressman George Santos has been arrested on federal charges alleging he embezzled money from his campaign, lied to Congress about his income, and cheated his way into undeserved unemployment benefits. Santos has faced calls to resign over his revelations that he fabricated parts of his life story. Time now for news about your money in the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Right now, the Dow is down 147 to 33,414. The Nasdaq is up 82 to 12,262, and the S&P is up 3 to 41,23. Get on track with investment and retirement planning. Visit annexwealth.com and click the Get Started button today. Checking the roads with your Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver traffic. 94 eastbound, Highway 16 through the Zoo Interchange and into the city right now is looking okay. You are going to start seeing some slowdowns right around the stadium, of course, because of the game. You got a day game today, so you can expect some slowdowns and some brake lights as you're heading east toward the stadium interchange as Brewers fans trying to get to the stadium. Westbound, though, looking okay from downtown to the zoo. For the most part, that's all right. 4145 south, no real issues there from Highway Q to the zoo. 43 southbound, same thing. Brown Deer Road into downtown, looking good at the moment. And 94 northbound from Layton into the Marquette. 7-minute commute.
Traffic is sponsored by TaybackAttorneys.com. Veterans benefits denied? Call Tayback for the payback. Brave Americans who served shouldn't be denied benefits or have a disability claim incorrectly evaluated by the VA. If you're one of those vets, call Tayback for the payback. TaybackAttorneys.com.
The WTMJ 5-day forecast. Sunny today, a high of 76 inland. Tonight, a clear sky, a low of 50. Thursday, partly sunny, a high of 80 tomorrow. Friday, rain, a high of 74. Saturday, showers and breezy, a high of 74. Sunday, rain and breezy again, a high of 68. Right now, in Milwaukee, it's 65. I'm Eric Bilstead, Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:33.
Life's more rewarding at Blaine's Farm and Fleet, especially when it comes to gardening. Right now, get unbeatable deals on supplies to support your backyard bounty. Like $5 off assorted Dan & Jerry's flowering patio planters. 36-pound bags of KT All-American Wild Bird Food, just $19.99. Shop our selection of live flowers and plants in our outdoor garden center, now open at most locations. Plus, get Blaine's Best Price Promise, the guaranteed lowest price, or we'll match it.
Find value at Blaine's Farm and Fleet.
The workplace has changed a lot thanks to technology, and more recently, the shift to a flexible or remote schedule. Your business must adapt to maintain a great culture, attracting quality candidates and keeping them. You need Smart Spaces. The team of interior integrators at Smart Spaces brings creativity and expertise, assessing the walls, ceiling, lighting, flooring, furniture, and audiovisual systems to create places that matter in the modern world. Fully functional for those in the building and for others to interact remotely. Get started today at smartspaceswi.com.
Live life to the fullest. Hey, you hear that all the time, but it's easier said than done when you're in pain, right? Hey, it's WTMJ's Greg Matzik. QC Kinetics gives people all around Milwaukee their quality of life by providing much-needed relief for chronic joint pain, and not just providing that relief, but doing it in the most non-invasive way possible, using regenerative treatments from your body's own natural biologics. So where is your joint pain? In your knees, your hips, shoulders, maybe your back? Well, QC Kinetics concentrates these impactful treatments right at the source of your pain, directly applying healing properties where you need them the most. No surgery, no downtime, no steroids or harmful drugs. And patients are raving about the results. So what does living life to the fullest look like for you? Well, finally being able to exercise or walk the dog, maybe enjoying time with the family, or just working your job. Whatever it is, don't wait another day. Call QC Kinetics for your complimentary consultation. 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. Give them a call. 414-285-3474.
Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Welcome back on WTMJ in the final half hour of this very fast-moving show. Thank you to everyone who's engaging on the talk and text line. It's 855-616-1620, Old National Bank talk and text line. I spend a lot of time talking about real estate, commercial real estate. Obviously, that is my passion, my profession, and bringing on some of the experts who can share with us, kind of some of the big issues, some of the big questions that are out there. Every one of us interfaces with housing, an apartment, a condo, a house. And so there are a lot of questions. This is a complicated topic, complicated issue, but also very, very relevant. So we spent a lot of time in the last half hour talking about apartments here in Wisconsin and how that fits into potentially our housing shortage. And this is something that we've seen a lot of headlines about over the last few months and years. And the reality is that estimates suggest that we here in Wisconsin need to build at least 140,000 housing units by the end of the decade to keep up with current demand. And that number jumps to over 200,000 units if Wisconsin hopes to grow its working age population. And this is a report that was put together by an organization called Forward Analytics. And this is a research arm of the Wisconsin Counties Association. So they look at the population data, they look at the income data, they look at all of this information, and they come up with these estimates. And a question that I am often asked when I talk about the housing shortage and the need for over 100,000 units is, if our population really isn't growing by that much, why do we need more houses? And so it has more to do with the fact that we don't have good housing supply, and we haven't been keeping up with the demand for a very long time. And so the longer you let this go on, the further and further you fall behind. This also has to do with the type of housing, as well as where that housing is. We've seen the population shift to more of the suburbs, more suburban areas. You've seen much more housing demand outstate, especially as you continue to have more interest and more opportunity for remote work or retirees. Also, think about the number of people who might own more than one house. You've got baby boomers sitting in their houses that have been paid off. And these are houses that a young family could move into, but they're not available. And so we find ourselves in a situation where we still have a very tight housing supply. And average home prices, although are falling, are still higher than they were a year ago. And interest rates are rising. And this is creating a very, very, very tough situation for folks who are looking to purchase a home. At the recent conference I was at, they were saying that it costs on average 20% more to buy a house now, or to build a house now, to finance a house now, to insure a house now. I'm not sure the last time you looked at your insurance bill, but all of these costs are succumbing to inflation. This is not for the faint of heart. And, as somebody who advocates for home ownership and the American dream, this is the only way that people are able to build wealth. And that wealth and that home ownership is what will set you up for future success and future stability and future home ownership. So I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't know where this will end up. I just know that it is very cyclical. And I know that I am proud to work with an organization that continues to advocate for affordability and construction of affordable homes and more efficient ways to build homes, and more tools for municipalities to ensure that houses and housing stock can be built. And that a lot of that has to do with what tools do municipalities have. And right now, there is a suite of housing bills that were unveiled this week to promote more housing construction, including one bill that I find fascinating. And I know that you guys are going to be able to relate to this. This bill was introduced to curb strategies used by residents to block new projects, including the recent lawsuits filed in Wauwatosa. For those of you who are TOSA listeners, you know that there's been a lot of turmoil with one specific project that I'll talk about in a second, in Franklin and in Bayside. This bill, in a nutshell, quiets the NIMBYs. And NIMBYs is a technical term, a technical real estate term that means not in my backyard. So these are, people who protest construction projects, who protest and appeal zoning changes. And I think that you have a right to do that. But there has to be some guardrails, especially in communities that have already left themselves open to wanting to promote development and create density. In some municipalities, the ability to stop projects is easier than others. And so this is municipality by municipality. In other words, if a project is proposed for a community like Wauwatosa and a resident or an individual doesn't like it, regardless if they live near it, they can oppose it. They can file a lawsuit. They can challenge it. They can hold up this process. And what happens is you create that uncertainty and add cost for developers. And anytime you introduce that uncertainty, you create an extended timeline, you are costing that project money. And when you cost that project money, when you delay that project, really the impact is on the community. And it is not a positive impact. It is a negative impact on the community if you can't move these projects forward. But the NIMBYs in many communities have a lot of power. And I want to point to an example that many of you are probably aware of. It is a project that was proposed in Wauwatosa by Johnny Vasallo. It was called the Drew Tower. And this was a $50 million proposal that would be multifamily development. I believe there was some office, potentially some retail, on the corner of Highway 100 and Blue Mound. And initially, this was a staggeringly tall tower, and it needed a zoning variance. So finally, the developer put together a concept knowing that he wasn't going to be able to get this variance, and created something that would fit within the zoning. All right. So he said, okay, fine. I can't build this skyscraper. Too many people oppose it. And by the way, the people who were opposing it were not people that were directly affected. They were people who were anti-development. I mean, some groups they will travel across the state. They will travel across the country just to oppose development. And so this developer finally said, okay, I will create something that fits within the requirements. And then a group called Underwood Neighbors United, a group of Wauwatosa residents, filed a lawsuit. And, it held up the process. And so this developer said, you know what, this has gone on long enough, and interest rates are rising. I cannot get this project completed in the time and in the scope that I intended. I cannot create this $50 million investment that will create property tax increment, that will create property tax value. So you know what? I am going to just put a car wash here. Fine, community, you've protested. You've told me what you don't want. And I'm just going to, because I need to get this done. I need to move forward. And so this little car wash on the corner of Highway 100 and Blue Mound Road is, 10% of the property value that this residential tower would have provided. And so the whole point of talking about this is that this legislation that is being proposed would not allow groups to protest projects if they're not immediately harmed. And if they do want to challenge an approval, they would have to prove that it caused actual damages that are distinct from the damages that impact the public generally. And I think this is a good move, and I hope to see this move forward. It's not a done deal, but I think that this will create additional certainty in the marketplace, and I think hopefully expose better dialogue for communities and municipalities as they move forward on projects. And especially in communities like Wauwatosa, in Franklin, in Bayview, where really you're creating additional density. This is a popular place to be. And you want to create that balance, but you need to create that certainty. So I think this is a good move. I look forward to seeing this move forward. Obviously, there will be stops and starts along the way. but I think this is a great move. So after the break, I want to share with you a column in the Journal from a good friend of mine, Dan Steininger, and it focuses on solutions to an issue that we talk about all the time here in the city of Milwaukee, and that is crime. Let's talk about those solutions. Right now it's 11:46. I'm Tracy Johnson, in for Steve Scaffidi on WTMJ.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
From the ashes of the Galactic Empire comes a new threat to the galaxy 30 years later. And you can see the drama unfold as the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra presents Star Wars: The Force Awakens in concert. Visit MSO.org for tickets or call 414-291-7605. Join Han, Leia, Chewie, and 3PO as they team up with new friends BB-8, Rey, Poe, and Finn to find the missing Luke Skywalker and defeat Kylo Ren and the evil First Order. Director J.J. Abrams has something for fans young and old, and there's nothing like hearing the music of John Williams live as the movie shows on screen. Star Wars: The Force Awakens in concert runs May 12th through the 14th only at the Bradley Symphony Center. Call for tickets 414-291-7605 or visit mso.org.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
This is Chief Differentiation Officer Brian Wickert reminding home shoppers that working with AccuNet is different and better than working with your bank. Most bank pre-approvals state they've only verified the potential home buyer's credit, but not their income or money for down payment. To us, that's just crazy. AccuNet's rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval tells the seller we've checked out all three aspects of your financial health, and that we'll pay $2,000 if our pre-approval is faulty. Banks don't do that, but they do have a lot of overhead with all their vice presidents and fancy branches. We keep overhead low, which means lower rates and closing costs that are typically $1,000 to $3,000 lower than banks. Most importantly, our loan consultants can show you and your agent how to improve your financing and appraisal contingencies so your offer has the best chance of winning in a multiple offer situation. Hey, don't settle for a flimsy, unimaginative bank pre-approval. Click on the blue button today for your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval. That's ACCUNET.com.
If you're looking for the finest of furniture finishing and heirloom restoration, by golly, it's Mullally. Mullally Furniture Finishing and Repair. Serving everywhere. Quality counts. MULLALY finishing.com.
Let's take a minute of R&R. R&R Insurance, that is. R&R Insurance provides employee benefits to all of us here at Good Karma Brands. Business insurance is getting more complex these days. To share some knowledge about that is Jeff Salasinski, VP of Insurance Operations at R&R Insurance.
Hey, Vince. Today's commercial insurance market demands the sharp focus of your insurance advisor. Thousands of insurance agencies have sold or merged their businesses. The result? Your agent can become consumed with integration issues and adjusting to a new culture. Preoccupied with systems and people issues that always come with that level of change. The impact this M&A has in your business can be disruptive, and they lose focus on you, the client.
So, Jeff, what's the solution?
With 48 years of stability, local family ownership, and deep industry knowledge, R&R Insurance will be focused on you, the client, not the progress and payout of an acquisition. And the best part? We're not for sale. At R&R Insurance, we know business insurance.
That's Jeff from R&R Insurance. Thanks for the great info, Jeff.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
All right, welcome back on WTMJ. It's 11:50, and I said this a few times, but wow, time is flying. Thank you all for engaging. I know I'm going back and forth. I know a lot of people have a lot of information about commercial real estate, looking for more information. And one of the things that always comes up, and one of the things that's very important to folks investing in our community, in our city, in our state, in our region, has to do with safety and has to do with crime. And we continue to see those numbers increase, and we continue to see our elected leaders grapple with solutions. How do we solve for this growing issue, this growing concern? Because it has such a huge impact on our opportunity for economic development. And, I could sit here and, talk about carjackings. I could talk about shootings, and these are all very important to discuss. But I really was impressed with a column that a friend of mine and a known name to many wrote for the Journal Sentinel. And it's titled Ideas for Safer Milwaukee Include Zero Crashes, Rewarding Tips, and Stopping Porch Pirates. And a gentleman named Dan Steininger, who's the grandson of former Milwaukee Mayor Daniel Hone, we all know the Hone Bridge, he leads a family foundation called the Hone Family Foundation. And he is basically creating an open source contest for ideas from residents on ideas to fight crime in the city of Milwaukee. And he's saying, send us your ideas. I mean, we are all affected by this problem. And so let's all try to be a part of the solution. And listen, I am not sitting here saying that, we all need to come together, sing kumbaya. Like, I get it. We have a lot of issues and a lot of barriers. And, we are not coalescing around a solution. I'm not going to sit here and protest that I know what it is. But I love this approach of incentivizing people and residents to think about what solutions there may be out there, something that maybe we didn't think about. And so one of those ideas that he puts forth to get people's juices flowing is the launch of outreach programs that reward citizens for helping communities, collaborating with